This is the Nike ZoomX Invincible Run Flyknit. I just got it in the mail, so let's take it out for a couple runs and I can give you guys my first impressions. Okay guys, we are back in the apartment and we are going to take what we learned from the 2 times I've gone out in these shoes, and I will give you kind of my first impressions on the overall build and aesthetics of it, and then obviously how it feels and how it fits on foot. And before I jump into that stuff, maybe consider liking or commenting on this video and subscribing to the channel. It helps me out, and if you're into running and marathon content, it might be worth your while as well. But with that out of the way, let's jump into the first impressions. Okay, so first things first, let's get into the aesthetic and the build of the Invincible here. Obviously, probably the first thing that jumps out to me is this big cushioned heel collar. You're getting as much heel collar cushion as you could possibly want. It definitely also doesn't have a whole lot of structure to it, and it thins out a lot down towards the heel cup. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but the collar, huge. The tongue itself is super gusseted. Now I say super gusseted just because I've noticed, even when I slip into it, but like the gusseted tongue is tight down. Most of the time when you have a shoe and it's untied, and even if it's gusseted, you can kind of pull out the tongue a little bit. This really sticks to the form of the shoe, which obviously is going to help us with lockdown moving forward. Quick thing on the laces. Standard laces, but I will say that they're kind of short for me. I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but if I tie my shoes the same way as I normally do, I just don't quite have like just enough laces. Whereas I don't feel like I can tie the knots as well, which is like maybe a weird thing to say as a 30-year-old adult that I struggle to tie my shoes, but I digress. Maybe I'm the only one. The upper itself, that's obviously Flyknit. So you got that Nike Flyknit upper with kind of like a coating on it, which probably just insulates and helps with durability on the upper. It's relatively soft. I will say it's probably not as breathable as other materials, but this is a daily trainer, definitely with all the bells and whistles. So they're definitely going for more durability rather than, you know, lightweight or breathable, which you would find in a faster shoe. Before jumping into the midsole, I will say, obviously, what stands out to me the most in terms of some of the materials on the shoe is this hard plastic like ring separating the, you know, heel of the upper and the ZoomX full midsole. It's a really hard plastic. Not really sure what the purpose is. I think it looks kind of cool, I guess, but it definitely is one of those features that makes this shoe very unique to itself. Yeah, it's just super hard, and it makes me think that it was kind of like not necessarily an aspect of the original design, but something that was added during testing to make the shoe perform a certain way, because it just doesn't seem like something that like would make sense in the original design. Not that the design has to make sense. It's clearly like an artistic direction. But yeah, it's just interesting. I would say that it most likely is a structural addition for performance though. And then obviously looking at this giant midsole, you've got ZoomX from heel to toe. And for me, the biggest standout when I look at this, and obviously then more when I run in it, ZoomX is so, you know, just, you can squeeze it. You can just, and it's so soft. And it was something that when I had it in my hands, when I first unboxed it, I was like, this is going to be a new experience. And I was not let down by that. Also, I feel like it's kind of a larger stack / cushion in the forefoot compared to some other shoes. The heel, maybe I'm just a little bit more used to seeing, but I feel like the big cushion in the forefoot was a little bit of a new look for me. And I was very excited to run in it. And then obviously outsole for a daily trainer, not going for a lightweight minimal rubber. We've got full rubber heel to toe with a rectangular pattern that runs across the majority of the foot. Honestly, a pretty big tread. Totally could take this probably on some off-road adventures. And then you've got kind of these little separate non-tread rubber exteriors on the outsoles. And another opportunity to throw 2 more Nike swooshes on this shoe. Moving on from kind of the aesthetics and the build of things, I will now talk about how the fit and feel of slipping into this guy and actually doing some miles in it. I've gone out for 2 runs now, both short, one for 2 miles, the second one for 3 miles. And I just really wanted to, get those first impressions of how they feel in it. I will say I'm not going to be going over kind of like the specs of the shoe or kind of any of the weight or anything like that. I did watch a couple reviews of the shoe a couple of weeks ago, but I really intentionally, for the first impressions, wanted to just kind of, I guess, make my own conclusions about it. So now jumping into the fit, I'll start with how it feels in the heel. Really good. I would say a really great lock-in higher up on the collar where the cushion is. But me personally, I have a little bit of extra. It's not quite as snug as other shoes. The closest thing I would compare it to is the Pegasus 38s that I've run over 200 miles in. I'll throw a review up above to that. But I have a really narrow heel, and I don't think it's quite as snug in that kind of bottom of the heel cut for me. If you have a super narrow heel, maybe something to be aware of. But I don't foresee it being an issue for what I want to do in the shoe. Just a first impression on the heel fit. Honestly, crucial lockdown in the early midsection of the shoe, right about even with the top of the collar, like the top of the laces. I found the lockdown here to be it's about as good as it gets for me. I felt like the arch, I got locked in the bottom of the arch, and just like when I lace up, it really completes that. And maybe that has something to do with how tight the gusseted tongue is. I just think it's a great feature for a shoe that is pretty spacious in other places and allows me to get that lockdown. Moving forward for the toe box, I feel like I've got space on the width, and also I would say in terms of above the toes, which is kind of a new thing for me. Most shoes I've run in, I tend to feel like the upper is not rubbing, but like pretty darn close to the top of my toes, where I feel like I've got nice room throughout that kind of toe box for things to kind of move and wiggle. That being said, 2 runs in, no hot spots at all. And again, for what I'm going to be doing in the shoe, which is kind of those nice slow miles, I don't think it's going to end up being a problem for me. Moving down to the money of this shoe, the ZoomX Midsole, I have to say that running in this has been a completely new experience for me, which is kind of saying something. I don't think I've had such a unique experience in a new shoe since I ran in the Saucony Endorphin Speed 1s when the Endorphin line first dropped in 2020. That PB midsole kind of blew me away in terms of the cushion, but also being somewhat responsive. This is kind of a new level, I would say, of it's kind of sinking into a shoe to the exact, I don't think I would want to go too much further in terms of softness in a midsole, where I'm starting to feel, it's too soft. It's eating up too much of my energy. I'm not getting much return. But I think these are honestly about as far as I would go. They feel really great at slow paces. I would also say I feel like I sink in. You get that cushion feeling even in the forefoot, more so than any other shoe I've ever run in. It's cool how versatile the ZoomX material can be. And then talking about how much cushion you're getting from that midsole is a good transition to the outsole in kind of the surface area. It definitely spans quite a bit wider than even the Pegasus 38s. Again, that's the only shoe I'm really comparing to, but I think it spans quite a bit wider. I held them up across each other, and right in the forefoot, it's quite a bit wider, and also right in the midsection of the heel. So you could tell that the designers were compensating a little bit for how much cushion softness you are getting in the full ZoomX midsole by adding in that extra surface area for stability. And then final notes on the outsole. Obviously, haven't tested it much. 2 dry days that I have run in so far. Absolutely no issues, and I expect this to be good on many surfaces. Honestly, I don't know why you would bring this on a track, but you totally could. Obviously on pavement, I think you could take it on light trails, and I don't think this outsole is going to go For me, you could probably do 500 miles before that breaks down. I don't think it'll be the first thing to go. Okay, so final thoughts on the Nike ZoomX Invincible Run Flyknit. This is the wildest, but definitely in a good way for me, daily slogging miles trainer. That is an absolute mouthful, but I think between this midsole, the surface area, and the extra cushion that they've packed into certain areas, while still allowing some room, the nice room in the toe box, I think this is a great shoe for, I got it for $145. It normally was retailing at $180. So it's a good time to get these at a pretty large discount while also getting a shoe that should go a lot of miles. I've gotten comments already on my Strava saying, I'm on my third pair. I've gotten them over 600 miles. So you're kind of getting the best bang for your buck for a shoe that feels super, super comfortable at slow speeds. I'm not going to recommend you buy this shoe if it's the only shoe you're running in and you're training for 5K, 10K, maybe a half marathon. But if you are trying to do some fast days, I think you would want another shoe to pair this with, which kind of leads me to why I'm really hyped on this shoe. I think it's going to be that perfect daily trainer to pair with the Endorphin Speed 2s. The Endorphin Speed 2s, they've got the pop of the nylon plate, so it makes the whole shoe a lot more responsive. They're probably about 3 ounces lighter compared to these. So I should really feel kind of a nice, exciting difference on the days when I want to go quick in the Endorphin Speeds. And then possibly on race days, I've got the Endorphin Pros. So to have these for a daily trainer, I think is going to be really, really great for those nice slow days to complement what I'm going to get in the speeds and the other Endorphin shoes that I like to pick things up in. So yeah, I think it's the ultimate, probably second shoe to a rotation. It could be your only shoe, but you would definitely be pushing things if you were trying to run really quick in this bad boy. So that was a little bit of a rambler, but that is my first impressions of the Nike Invincibles. Really cool shoe, definitely a new experience for me. If you did get anything out of my first impressions video, please consider commenting, or subscribing. Definitely gonna be doing at least 200 miles in these, and we'll be giving you a full review once we get those done. But for me, that's all. Enjoy yourselves out there, stay safe, and yeah, peace. I'll see you in the next one. I like a ZoomX queen size mattress, or maybe I just need a pillow. I can see Nike getting into the sleep game, This ZoomX prescription pillow. It's gonna help your neck, your shoulders. You're gonna get the best sleep you've ever had. You're gonna be zooming in your dreams.